WillieGene talking, WillieGene squawking, WillieGene telling the deal. WillieGene mocking, WillieGene blocking, WillieGene keeping it real.
Alright, what's up everybody? It's Will here. Wanted to start off today's story. It's about TPS, Tennessee Preparatory School. And it was in Nashville, Tennessee. I went there after John Tarleton. When I went home from John Tarleton, I was out for a little bit, and of course that's what the judge did. He, caught me at some point, and then they sent me to Nashville, thinking that, I couldn't get 4 hours away from there back home to Greenville. But I did eventually. Tennessee Preparatory School was pretty different. It was co-ed. We had boys up on the hill, girls down at the bottom of the hill. It was huge, a lot of people, actual school there, and I just remember everybody smoked Newports. I've always smoked full flavor cigarettes, so to me menthols was not sufficient, but would work. But to them, that's what they like. They like their ports, baby. And I remember hanging out with the wrong people, and the first time I ran from the group home was a huge mistake. I didn't know anybody in Nashville. I really wasn't hip to the hustle in that sense. So I packed a bag of clothes, and I put on, everything I could, and then I left. And I remember walking down the street, and I was at like a red light, and there was a hustler on the side. And I always grew up around drugs and stuff like that, so I knew, what the hustle was. But the guy had told me something like, do you want to get some weed? And I was like, I ain't really got nothing to give for anything. And he's like, hey, I can get you a blunt, for free if you want one. And I was like, sure, why not? So I follow him down the street. We go into this apartment complex in Gatton, and of course when I go around the corner, there's like 7, 8 real life gangsters sitting back there hustling, trapping, doing their due, and they end up, one of them comes up to me and he's like, what you got, man? Run it. And I was like, man, I ain't got nothing, dude. I just ran from a group home. I got a bag of clothes. I was like, that's what I got. He's like, man, nah, stop bullshitting me, man. Run it, dude. I know you got this. So he pulls out a 380 and puts it to my face. And in that moment, I wasn't thinking, like, I wasn't worried for my life or scared or anything like that. Honest to God, if it was just me and him, I would have took the gun from him easily. But I was in a situation where there were like 5, 6 different dudes hanging out and behind the apartment complex. And, this dude's got a gun, so they likely have guns. And, he tells me to run it again, and I'm like, dude, I got nothing. And then he takes the gun and he pistol whips me with it. And when he does, I seen stars, but my face turned kind of, like that when he did. And I thought to myself, man, if he does that again, as soon as he goes to do that, I'm just going to turn with it and start running and, jump this fence, because there was a tall, like 9-foot fence sitting right there too. And so the dude's keeping on, and then he takes that gun and he turns around and he goes to hit me again with it. And of course I spun with it and then jumped over the thing, and I heard him pop, 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 popping off a couple. I don't think they were at me. I just think they were in that area. But I did drop my bag, obviously, and then run from the situation. So they got clothes, which there was nothing in there worth nothing. Just a couple pair of pants, shirts, things like that. Uh, went back to the group home, and you would have thought that had stopped me. You know, I mean, you got to remember I've already gotten a truck with a guy in Knoxville, and hitchhiked all the way to Greenville with some weirdo, and then now, I'm in Nashville, and I run, and then I get pistol whipped, and yeah, I mean, maybe could have got shot. Who knows? Maybe he was for real. Uh, but it didn't. I end up meeting these other people in the group home, and they, they want to go on the run. So I'm like, all right, cool. Y'all got a place. That way I can use a phone, get dressed, put some clothes on, get things together a little bit so I can hustle back to, Greenville to home. And they're like, yeah, man, we got you. So we dip out. I think it's like three or four of us. We dip out. We go to this apartment complex. Now, remember, I'm in Nashville. I know nobody. I know nowhere. I don't know none of these streets, anything. So, we get there, and the dude's like, do you remember how we got here and stuff? And I'm like, yeah, I did remember. We went to like a Jack in a Box, and then we turned left, and we went right into this apartment. I didn't remember what apartment it was, but I remembered where the apartments were. And, I didn't know that at the time. I had thought I remembered exactly where the apartments were, too. But, so we set up this plan where I'm going to go back. I'm gonna be the fall guy, and I'm gonna go back and turn myself into the group home. And I just know what the business is, so they're gonna fuss at me, maybe put me on a little bit of punishment, put me back in another room, start getting me set back up. And that gave me a chance to meet up with like their girlfriends. And then both the dude's girlfriends, I get them to come with me and to run with me to meet up with the dudes. But so I get out, and I get back there, I get them, I talk to them in school, and I end up getting them and convincing them that, yeah, it's for real, I know where they're at, we can get there and blah, blah, blah. So we leave the group home at night, and I remember this just like it was yesterday, and it's funny because this is a story from when I'm like 17. So, but we ended up, the two girls didn't want to walk all the way there. So we call a cab, and ain't none of us got no money. But the cab driver shows up, one of the girls ride in front with him, and then one of the girls ride in the back with me. And telling the cab where to go. He takes us kind of near the area, And when he does, the girl up front's like, well, I need to use the payphone because you're taking me to my boyfriend's house. He's got the money, okay? And I'll need to use the payphone at the store right there so he can come over and give you the money. So he's like, all right, well, they got to stay in the back if you're going to do that and this and that. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. Well, after a second, eventually her pretending to use the phone and stuff like that, me and the girl, we bulk out and we go, and the girl runs with us. And the cab driver ain't giving up, dude. He's relentless. Like, he's falling apart over, $40 like it's the end of the world, calling police and everything. And it's funny because we were trying to run, and I'm having to help these girls get over fences and things, because I'm trying to jump fences and houses and through alleyways and lead people to where they can't follow where you're going. They have to do a lot, and then he's got to leave his car and everything and try to chase us down. But they couldn't get over the fences, so I'm sitting there holding my hands and lifting these two girls up over fences and things. And we spent that whole night trying to find this place, the apartments and stuff. The morning we do find the apartments, but by the time we find the apartments, we can't even find the door. She's got no phone numbers to dude. I don't have any phone numbers to dude. I just remember the kind of area we was in. We should have probably planned a lot better for that. We ended up all, getting caught by the police and then going back to the group home. Eventually, the girls end up running again, but they ran because the two dudes had came back to the group home and, did what I did the first time, kind of turned themselves in, hustled up with each other, and then just left together. But yeah, I mean, that was a crazy night, and all in the days of a group home. And I remember this group home vividly because it was probably one of the first group homes I actually had like a girlfriend, in the sense of like somebody that I kissed once, I like in a dating sense type of deal. But we weren't really dating. I mean, we kissed one time, and they had a little game room to where if you were dating, they were okay with you dating, but the only place you could do anything was like in that area, and you could give each other kisses and hugs. That's it. And I thought that's pretty cool of a group home to be doing stuff like that, and stuff. But after all that wild shit that went through all that, running with the dudes, coming back, or actually running, getting pistol whipped, come back, stay for a week, get in trouble while I'm there the whole time because of my mouth, and then, run again with dudes, and then turn around and come back, and then run again with the girls to help find the dudes, you see. And then I end up running again from there, and that's where the story gets a lot more interesting, because Mountain View is going to come into play. And Mountain View is a crazy story because actually it ain't even Mountain View. Mountain View will be right after Elizabeth and Christian Shelter again. Because I did go to Elizabeth and Christian Shelter right before I went to Mountain View. When I was at John Tarleton, I ran again. Judge Wright had seen me, and Rhonda, and of course, they knew me so well by then that they knew I wasn't like causing problems in the sense of vandalizing things, or I was stealing little bits here and there and clothes and stuff like that, but realistically, while I was a juvenile, it was all for truancy and not staying put. Had I not gotten the fights in school that would cause truancy, then I wouldn't have went to the group homes. And if I'd have stayed at the group homes when I went and just did the 9 months, 8 months, the year, whatever, then I would have been out and I wouldn't have been back in that position. But instead, I chose to keep running, which kept me on probation. I kept failing probation because of weed. So you look at situations in the future and you look back and you say, well, I would have chose better choices than that. And that's the truth. But, you don't know what you know now then, so you can't act on anything that way. You can only change those things and move past it and learn from constant repetition for me. But, the next story is they send me back to Elizabeth and Christian Shelter. And it's completely different. There's no Chuck, there's no Mary. It's co-ed now, and I've got a crazy house parent that, takes me to places and gets high with me at places. So look forward to the next story. This was the story also on TNS or TPS, Tennessee Preparatory School. And check back with me, and I'll do another video here soon, possibly tomorrow or the next day, about Elizabeth and Christian Shelter, and I'll probably go ahead and throw Mountain View in with that, and then we'll start getting to adulthood and to, real trouble that's into the jail. So, anyways, check out my videos, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching and wanting to hear my story, as crazy as it is.
WillieGene talking, WillieGene squawking, WillieGene telling the deal. WillieGene mocking, WillieGene blocking, WillieGene keeping it real.